to 9 members. And then we talked about having the Common Council shall appoint 2 residents of the community, which selection shall be by a 2/3 majority of the council.
I believe that was taxpayers in the community, I mean, homeowners.
Okay. You got that, Leslie?
I'll mark this one up. Homeowners or residents?
Homeowners.
Homeowners.
I just got a quick question on line 1. The director of the IEDC, what's that stand for?
Indiana Economic Development.
Indiana Economic Development Corp. That's our state representative.
Mayor, just question on the homeowners. I mean, I know some pretty bright individuals who are not homeowners and they rent, but they are
He gets to
resident of
appoint
Lawrenceburg.
himself?
I want a homeowner. Not paying taxes. Never when I got on the board paying taxes.
No, I ain't got a problem with that, but I just think that, just throwing that out there.
All right. So he actually sits on the board.
Yeah, no, the director of the IEDC appoints one person.
Who did they appoint then?
They appointed Trevor Lane, which is an employee of the IEDC.
And the state appointed?
The governor appointed Judd McMillan, state representative Judd McMillan.
What was the individual's name from the IDEC?
Trevor Lane.
Thank you.
And how many members sits on that board right now? 7?
7.
And who are the members appointed by the mayor?
Currently, those members are Mario Todd, Mel Davis, help me,
Me.
Jackie,
Doug.
Me.
Doug,
Doug who?
Taylor.
Taylor,
Just wanted to know, guys.
How many Dougs do you know, Jane?
A lot.
Oh, okay.
and Mike Rosso from the chamber.
Spell his last name.
ROZOW. That's only 5.
Okay.
Well, he done said the other 2.
Oh, okay.
And then 2 state,
I'm sorry.
and 2
okay.
state representatives.
Yeah. Okay.
So right now we got Mario, Mel, Doug, Mike Rizzo, Judd, and Trevor Lane.
And me.
And Jackie.
Yep.
I'm presiding on.
And that's 7.
I don't have a vote.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And the
Mayor and
discussions-
Jackie sits on it. Does Jackie have a vote?
Yes.
Mayor does not.
I'm presiding on.
No.
Okay. 7. Okay.
And at last discussions council was looking at adding 2 additional people. So,
In my opinion, I don't think it's necessary to add 2 additional people. The only concern I have, and we'll skip to the only concern I have, is that it comes back before council. I think
Okay.
the 10 county grant programs ran smooth so far. You've made some good decisions.
okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. One of the things is you form a committee to help make the decisions for council. And there's nothing wrong with the committee's decisions coming back to council for them to review, all right? But the problem that we've got to try to solve some way, Councilman Pope, is we've got to find a way that the information that goes on in executive session, how do we communicate that to the council so that the council is knowledgeable when it comes time to review that and say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't agree.
Doug,
You know, the
Doug
committee-
knows that. Doug's seen that. How big a stack of papers did you have that one day from those meetings? It's a huge.
Yeah,
paper.
we went through 50 applications on a traditional this year.
But we went through that, and as far as being on that board myself, I was asked to talk to the council on some of the ones and communicate it that way. And I think that wouldn't be a problem, because, I mean, if you're going to add another councilman, possibly, or two councilmen on that board, I mean, that would be, I don't see why that would be an issue.
I don't either, and why have a board, you're gonna undermine it? That just takes away from having a board. That's what you have a board to make decisions.
And that's why I spoke to Fred McCarter about the community foundation. They have their own board, and then it's kind of undermining their board when we go over their recommendation. They recommend to us as council, and then we go with a different amount. When they spend all that time in due diligence coming up with an amount, and then we override it.
But did you read their agreement that we just approved the other night? I mean, it says it right in there that we have that right.
Yeah, we have it. And I've done it in the past too, but I mean, I've spoke to them, and I do agree with that. They have their board, and they have a good board over there, and they do all the work and do all the research, and then come up with an amount, and then in 5 minutes, not know anything about it, we override that board.
Well, I think I remember 2 times that happened. One was for care packages to our soldiers, and if they got a problem with it, I got a problem with it.
Yeah.
And the second thing was for the kids at the park, for equipment and stuff,
Batting
upgrades.
cages.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, if we wanted to give more money to more people, we could do it out of council. It doesn't mean we have to override the community foundation's
That's what-
recommendations.
The legislative body of government is for final approval. I mean,
But I mean-
what would our purpose be if we just hand our powers over to a committee to make decisions that we were elected to do?
You elected to appropriate money.
to look over money.
You can look over it.
I've never seen anywhere where it says we're only elected to appropriate money. I haven't seen that in the statute, but maybe I've overlooked
That's
it.
what a councilman does, he appropriate money.
Well, I think, part of it is that, again, how do we share the information in executive session that occurs? I mean, in a sense, those members of council who aren't sitting on it would need to sit in the audience in executive session. So you would hear everything, and you would see how the discussion went, the type of questions that were asked, the answers that were gotten, and then the committee, what, we got 9, so 5 of them vote for it and 4 of them vote against it. And let's say the 4 vote against it, that would be council. I'm trying to understand where, how we move this forward with a committee. I mean, do we bring it back and it takes a 2/3 vote to overrule the committee? Is that a possibility?
I think the 10-county grant program's been handled fine. We haven't rejected any of them that's been brought back before us. We've accepted every grant that you put out there. Why fix something that's not broken?
Because it run like this.
Well,
But I mean, it's coming back to the council if that's what,
Yeah, see,
I mean, that's the ratification as far as the, I don't even know if that's the right word or not as far as numbers, but that's what, resolution, that's what Joe was saying, that hadn't been done, and that's what was coming back to the council, if you're going to do it the same way. I mean, I'm the same thing as far as with Jane. I mean, there's only the one that was on with this 10-county deal that I still, to this day, I don't think it was economic development. And that's what set the fireworks off on all this here, and I believe that's what did all this. But I mean, as far as that's a pretty small percentage on all the grants that's been out that have come before the council that have went on their merry way after the meeting.
But to that point, and to that applicant, the decision of the board, the committee, was that, they got the majority of the votes. Again, council would have to sit in the executive session and go through what that was about to be knowledgeable whether to accept that or override it.
from what I've reviewed about committees, they're there to make recommendations. Nowhere have I read that a committee is elected by the people. We know that. Nowhere have I said you have to appropriate and make an ordinance to give them the power to spend X amount of dollars. It's to make recommendations. I'm still to this day going to say I feel like people's wanting to tie the council's hands and not wanting to allow them to vote to make decisions. I believe some people are wanting to control, and I'm never going to change, which I've expressed this to everybody. I will never change my opinion on that.
Okay. So how do we bring it together and get a consensus and move it forward?
So you do away with all boards because you want council to make approval forever. That's basically what you want to do.
No.
Committee is to make recommendations.
But the only thing on that, Mayor, is not been,
You're trying to micromanage the mayor, what you're trying to do.
You're trying to micromanage
No, you're-
the
Oh, I'm
council?
not. Okay. You appropriate the money, the board makes decisions. I don't make the decisions.
Okay, well, how do we still solve the issue of educating council? I mean, are y'all saying we need to go into a second
Myself, I don't have,
executive session?
if, I don't have an issue if the council can be in that executive session to just listen on.
how many total councilmen are you looking at as far as being on this board now, Mayor, with the new,
I told you on the last meeting, you can appoint 2 council people.
so there'd be 3 people on there then?
Be 3 council people.
I don't care
If
if all the council people's on it. It still needs to come back before council to be for final approval.
Why have a board? If you're going
For recommendations. I mean, I think you're doing a good job. The 10-county grant program, from what I've seen and what's come before me, the committee that's done been employed, and I have no problem with keeping 7 members and allow them to continue to do their job, but at the same time, I need it to come back before city council for final
do their
approval.
job. If you're going to micromanage how they do their job, how they doing their job?
Mayor,
You say no.
the one, being on that board,
I don't agree with that.
there was several comments that was made that there was a lot of good questions that were asked during this year's 10-county grant process and such, and I did my best as far as to relay information as far as on the, Grant had asked to
And
talk
Grant
to,
reviewed a lot of stuff with me. I was happy.
and I didn't see a problem as far as council having issues with 99%.
I don't know hardly about any of them besides the Hollywood grant.
Are you on that committee?
Doug is. I mean, I seen your stack of paper. It's like, I mean, if we're going to
Yeah,
be
it's a
there,
lot,
why
though.
even have the committee? Well, we don't need anybody to.
But if you're going to
Yeah,
micromanage
if I'm going to be there, we don't even need the committee if we're all going to be there.
And then what Mr. Votel was bringing up was the fact that we would have to enter into an interlocal agreement to do this grant, correct? Is that correct? We would have to do, in the end, we have to do an interlocal with the sponsoring entity.
Yeah,
whoever it is,
yeah, we have
correct?
to do-
Just like we do with the revolving loan.
Right, and council has to...
And council has to approve that resolution at that
Right,
point.
so that's the second check in
That's
this.
what's been coming back that Joe had said wasn't being done, though.
Well, it's because we got to do a resolution for that interlocal agreement.
Exactly. You have to do a resolution for the interlocal agreement.
We were just doing interlocal agreements with no resolution.
Correct.
So you're saying that that's still going to have to come back before council then?
Yes, the resolution to enter into the local agreement like we have done recently with Hagford, I've typed all of them. Hagford, Osgood, all of those.
Any of them, yeah.
Yeah, any of them. That would be the same process. You would still have the final approval process of the interlocal.
Then why are we sitting here
Then
discussing
what's the deal?
why it wouldn't be coming back to council when she just said that it's going to be?
interlocal, well,
The
Okay, the whole...
resolution to pass the interlocal will still come back in front of council, but having you have their decision come back in front of council is different. So, the resolution to pass the interlocal, if you like the interlocal, great. If you don't like the interlocal, then you don't pass the resolution to enter into the interlocal. And then it goes back to the committee, and they will figure out what it needs to do. But that's my take on it, sorry.
But keep in mind, when it gets to the point of resolution, that board's already made their decision.
They have, but if there's a
Right.
problem that council finds with the interlocal, we can't, we won't be able to go into the interlocal if they don't resolve to enter into it. So
So
there would be,
basically-
that would be
Okay.
your check, you know what I mean? If you wanted
That's
to
the way
review-
we've been doing it. It has
That's-
came back before council under resolutions.
I mean, and
And
that's,
we've passed every one of them.
Right. I think the issue is how does council become educated on the applicants that it's awarded to? I mean, really, that's what we're talking about. How do we
you would just have
educate
to
the
come-
people that are not in the room when we do that? I can't see how we can do that without them coming and sitting in the audience. I mean,
Yeah, that's exactly.
What do you
how
think,
it has to
Doug?
happen. But the resolution is required by statute, so we can't skip that.
right.
You know, that's,
So it has to come back before city
the
council
resolution has to
for
come
final
back in front-
approval.
as
Right.
far as the final approval of the interlocal.
I was good about it.
And that's the way we've been handling it, and all of them's come back but one. There's never been a resolution on the one.
But
So-
for them to have to come and present the whole thing that they've already presented to the committee, and the committee's made their informed decision, that's not feasible. What he's saying is if you want to have an informed decision on whether to pass that interlocal, pass the resolution, enter into the interlocal, you need to be at the meetings to listen to the committee meetings. I mean, that's the only way. You might not have the vote on it, you still have one, or if you're going to vote to have 9 on there, there'll be 3 of you on there. But that's the only way. I mean, that's the only way I see it.
Some of this is confidential on the business people we bring in anyway. So,
Yeah, we deal with, of course, the financial information. We also deal with, some of these firms have trade secrets. The firm from Germany with the solar panels.
Well,
We
They
had-
would probably just need to sign
Yeah.
something
And-
to that effect.
Right.
You know,
So-
they would, the council members, if they wanted to attend and they weren't part of the committee, I don't know.
And
But they wouldn't have any input, the committee, they would only be there as observers.
Right. And the IEDC comes down, or even from the governor's office, they come down with some information and, you know, what they're trying to put together and why this is important and that, so. There's a lot of information in those sessions. And I think Doug will verify this, there's, like you said earlier, there's some great questions. We ask for a 10-minute presentation, and then we go into Q&A. But before that, every one of the members have seen the packet and have been able to read through it. They see a spreadsheet from me breaking down the parts that we're interested in, total project cost, the amount that they're requesting, number of employees, investment, be it real estate or building, and how they fit in that manufacturing sector. Are we understocked or overstocked? So we've got, I mean, it's coming together, and we've got a lot of information that gets shared there, and that's where the decisions are made. So how do we do it, guys? I'm open to suggestions.
Are those meetings held in here, in this room?
Yes, they are.
The other thing that could happen, as far as you know what I mean, the confidential information, is they could do it individually, they could do it in private, they, you know, review it one-on-one with you, like Jane said she did,
Right.
you know? I mean, you would still have to have a confidential agreement.
Well, yeah, the financials, and there's some documents that can't go outside this room in executive session because of the liability issue that could bring down on the city, be it trade secrets or financial statements. So, what about the issue where, that I brought up, since we're looking at two-thirds vote to approve the members that go on to the grant committee, or why don't we make it a two-thirds vote to override a recommendation from the grant committee?
Where specifically you're talking about?
You're talking about bringing it back to the council, like we're talking about, but a two-thirds vote to override the... Right.
And that came up with the selection process for the additional members.
The 2/3 vote, would that be a 3-2 or a 4-1?
4-1.
4-1.
I don't agree with that.
Well, if there's 3 of you that want to be on there, I would gladly say, hey, I'll
I don't
take a
want to be
seat.
on 10 county grant.
I'm talking to any of them because I'll gladly step back and say, someone take the seat, and I'll wait until the meeting or whenever to get the information. But if y'all want to sit on it, have at it.
This, as far as in your remarks there, Jane, is I believe as far as going on here, we've sat here tonight and said that the grants have been approved, and I don't see where that would be a problem.
I do, because it's taken away the majority. In a democracy, majority rules. You don't change the rules to a 4-1 vote when a 3-2 can take it.
I agree with Jane.
I don't think that would be an issue, though, as far as on the loans coming before this council. I just don't think that would be.
I do think it could become a very big issue.
It's been an issue this year. That's why I said, let's go 4-1. I don't like the 3-2 thing.
Well, that's democracy. Majority rules.
Right, but the way it's been ruling is not the right way. If we want to go 4-1, that's a solid vote. But hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
But
You can't say it's not the right way.
When the
It's just that
mayor
you don't
has the
like
right
that
to
way.
veto something, that's his right. I appreciate he has his right to veto something. I mean, it's the way the system works.
Well, if the mayor, as we talked, Mike, the mayor has the right to veto the decision of the council, it would have to come back 4-1 anyway.
And
That's what it would need to
But-
take. But we'd
under
still
the
make,
law, the majority is what gets it unless the mayor chooses to veto it. That's his right.
Okay, so it's,
I'm not here to change the Indiana law. That's
We're
the
getting
way
off
it's
track.
supposed to work.
so,
A little off track here. I think the whole point is, it's still going to come back in front of you. Is there 2 more people that you want on there? I mean, is that the beef? The beef, it's still going to come back in front of you because there's a resolution that we have to do to get the interlocal back in front of you.
We don't have a resolution, they're going to work anyway.
Exactly.
I'm okay with the resolution coming back before us, the way it's come back before us, but I'm not going for no 4-1. 3-2,
And
democracy, majority rules.
for me to vote for the grant committee and the grants, period, it has to be worded in there that it comes back before council for final approval. If you want me to vote yes.
okay. I guess where we're at, guys, is somebody needs to make a motion as to how we're going to handle that. Let's see if it passed and we go from there. Because we've got to get that resolved before we talk about the other details. Because if we can't even decide on that process, then we can't go into the other details. So,
The 9 members then, Mayor?
That's what you want to go with.
Well, I'm just asking, is it going to be 9 or going to be 7?
I give you guys the option to put 2 more on.
Okay.
As long as they pay taxes, the homeowner is paying.
So, would it be from,
That's what you're saying, I had one, Jackie, be on there.
No.
Okay. He's the one that said that, I didn't.
Well, he's talking about I'm the clerk treasurer, though.
Oh, yeah, but you
That's
get a
what-
vote, I mean.
Well, that's how I get on, because I'm elected official.
Well,
That's how I'm on there,
just-
Mike,
I'm just
okay?
asking.
I know what you're saying. I didn't get put on there because I was a homeowner. No. But no, I don't own it. I just live there.
I don't even know where it is, I'm sorry.
Close to you.
Don't throw none of that.
I don't think I could throw that far, but
All right.
I'm close.
so it'll be 2 additional council?
Appointees,
Right.
whatever.
Well, council or other people.
As long as the homeowners in this town pay for taxes in town.
You could just put in there that they would.
Won't there be a conflict though on the,
2 additional council people. Every meeting you have to be an open meeting.
sunshine?
You won't be
That's
able to
true.
have an executive session, but you can't make a decision.
Right.
So you have to have these same people back to make a presentation for the
Right.
plan.
Good point.
at a public meeting.
Good point.
I think it's a sign would be about.
Would they?
Yeah.
The only way to have executive sessions when they've got personal information and all that, that's what I'm
Well,
talking about.
executive session, you can't make a decision.
Right.
You cannot make a decision, you have to do it in public.
But Bill, but the three councilmen on that board, we wouldn't be able to do that for that reason.
Yeah. You'd have to, it's a good point.
Thank you.
When we come out of executive session, then we go into regular session.
Right.
So
Well, that's a committee. That's a
If
committee.
you discuss it, then you have to make a decision at a public meeting.
Right.
Because of the amount of council people involved in the committee.
Right.
When you put the 3 councilmen on there, we're in another arena.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. It'd take us a year to get it straightened out.
It would be interesting.
Well, I'm glad somebody's got some intelligence.
Put one council person and then just a resident, and you'd still have 2 council people.
I have no issues with the committee, what it is.
I don't have no problem with 7 members either.
I have no issue with if the executive session could be, if you chose to sit in, but you got to keep your mouth shut, you can't even ask a question. I don't.
we would have to have some kind of confidentiality agreement.
Well, I don't care about the confidentiality agreement.
We would definitely have to.
And I don't have an issue with even, you can't say anything. But my thing, I just believe it needs to come back before council for final approval.
Actually, you do, as a resident.
Okay. Well, let's decide on how many members, and then, we got to get through that before we go to the other items. The good thing about it is that when we get to the loan, a lot of what we work out here will work for the loan.
If I put a motion 7 members, or
Make a motion to do 7 members.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Who seconded?
Me,
Aaron,
Aaron.
okay.
All against? That's so.
Okay. So we
Okay,
got
so-
Simmer.
Motion for 7 members, Bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to make sure I get it right.
So in the 7 members, then will we have council, as far as having any say-so of any of those members being put on there like we had talked in the other?
That's going to stay the same as it is, I think.
Same as it is.
Because we've got
I mean, as far
one.
as the
I mean, you
approach,
didn't have a problem with the board.
well, I ain't got a problem with it, but we had talked about in the other one as far as council having an appointment on that board. I
That was
mean,
going 9 members.
okay.
Still
The
2
current
members.
bylaws state that the Indiana Development Group appoints 1, the governor appoints.
Right, but then you got your other 5.
Yeah, you got 5 left.
All right.
And mayor
So the
give
only-
up 1 appointment to allow city council make 1 appointment?
I don't see, we've got a good board of work, so I'm going to keep intact what we got.
I agree. But
I'm going to
just
make a
thought-
motion
Wait a minute.
that
Okay.
in this agreement to do grants, that it has to come back before council for final approval.
And that's before the interlocal agreement.
Yes,
Yeah.
Before the agreement,
yes.
not. when
Otherwise, we
the
don't-
local agreement.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Right. We don't waste our time putting an interlocal agreement together, and it's not going to get approved.
Leslie, they want to approve it before you do all the
So
paperwork.
then,
Right? Doug? Yeah.
On the board.
Is there a second? Did I miss a second?
Got a motion on the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, I didn't know if
All
I
in
missed
favor?
something.
Aye.
Aye.
All against? A roll call, please.
Jane?
Yes.
Aaron?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Okay. Mike?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. 4 yeses to 1 no.
Any more issues with it?
Next issue would be ratification.
I will only ratify from January 1, 2012 on. I will not ratify anything from the past.
Now, we're still on the grant?
You
Yeah.
are on grants,
10 county?
10 county.
More discussion.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
don't people start coming back from the the loans that they've received from this and don't want to pay them because they're not
Grants.
grants, 'cause they're not ratified.
Grants.
Huh?
Grants.
Grants because
You
they're
don't
not.
have to pay them back.
I'm
for
on-
grants.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I'm on the grants and loans.
That's
Then
okay.
that's my question on this part here is if it's ratification on grants, then what is that, why would we have to have that in there?
The reason that it's in there is because we have action that we have to take on last administration approvals. We're still reviewing projects that they approved. As far as Connie goes through it, Jackie's making payments. We have some applicants who have not drawn their money down. For one, Polycraft in Greendale, but we'll move that money to Greendale. So we've got some stuff hanging over from last administration to this administration. So I don't know if it's coming up with a list of those, but I would say that would be something that we need to make sure that you will have an understanding we still have a responsibility there.
I mean, in the grants that were awarded to the different recipients in the 10-county program, they signed papers as far as in getting their monies and what have you. I mean, this isn't as sticky, I guess, as what we're talking about next as far as with the loans. I mean, this is grant money.
Right. Correct. It's not as sticky.
But Doug, there may be modifications or change in the process.
But my thing, Mario, is it's already been made in the grants. I mean, the stipulations and such have already been there in part. And if it's modifications and such, wouldn't they come back before the board if they need to do that?
At least to the attorney to have her or him present it to you.
Right. But it would come back to the 10-county grant. I mean,
Correct.
or with grant, you would deal with if there was anything, and then bring it to the board, the 7-person board's attention as far as a modification on that part.
Right.
But I mean, what's that got? That's be a modification. It's not a ratification. I mean, it's already been done.
It may
Once you
change.
sign the paperwork and such, it's inked.
But it may change your interlocal, your agreement. The modification may.
Yeah, you're going to make a change to it. I don't know.
And it's already, if they did it the way we're doing it this year, then it's already been approved by resolution. So why ratify something that's already been approved?
They were approved by interlocal agreement, not by resolution.
Never by resolution.
But you see what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a modification, it has to come up. I mean, the other stuff has already been taken care of, and if there's something that comes in there that has to be modified.
Would go back to the board.
Right.
But you're modifying something you didn't ratify.
And what's the difference at that point, especially with the grants? I see you're making.
Oh, I got some
With the loans.
definitions on ratification over here that makes a big difference to me.
I make a motion that no ratification will take place other than from January 1, 2012 to present and future.
Have a motion here, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Jane?
Yes.
Okay, Aaron? Aaron, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. Bill?
No.
Mike? Is a yes. Doug?
Yes.
Okay. It's still 3-2. Passed, yes.
Mayor, you go, Speaker Bill, they get you on tape.
I realize you're all trying to do the best you can do in a situation that's handed to you. But you do assume what was left to you by previous administrations. It's your obligation to carry out the government as you see fit, but you're also obligated to carry out what has been promised. If it takes ratification, fine. If it takes a motion not to do this or do that, you are obligated with these grants and loans. You think the grant programs are done, you wait till you get in the next one. And you're going to deal with that. But you assume the liability of the previous administration, whether you like it or not. You ran for elected office. and you agreed to serve, and you serve to govern. You don't serve to dictate. You serve to govern and pass legislation. The legislations we're talking about now have been passed, and you have to move forward with them. You can modify them. You can do whatever, but like Councilman Pope said, from this point forward, the trouble is you got this point back. And those are obligations that the city has made. And that's the only reason I'm here tonight. I don't want to interfere with your business. I was a big part of that grant committee. Actually, I probably started the thing. The loan committee we should never have again. We're not bankers. We need to just get the money back and forget about it. But don't think you can go back and say, well, we're not going to take care of this. It was passed legally, even though you've got some attorneys that might disagree with that. Find an attorney, they'll always tell you something. But remember, you elected to govern, you made these promises. I'll work with you any way I can. If I've got information you need, I'll give it to you, believe me, because I want to see this thing move forward. But you really, the promises were made, paperwork was signed. We didn't have this problem until other attorneys got involved and said we didn't do this and didn't do that for 10 years and went well, or 8 years. But, you know, the obligations that are made, and the grant committee's not one. The grant committee has really gone pretty smooth, really. It's created over 6,000 high-paying jobs in southeastern Indiana, and you can get that information from the state. Do I like all of them? No. Do I like everything I did? No. And you don't like everything you do. But these are promises we made you have to continue with. Your loan committee, you can take that and run with it. Believe me, that's up to you all. But this grant committee is something that needs to stay in place. I was on a train ride in Madison, Indiana, for a grant we made to rebuild bridges, and there was legislators on there, and they thought it should continue, and they were happy with the way it worked. I think you should have the final say in any grant. I agree with Councilman Lawrence. It should come back here. I don't think you need a 4-to-1 vote. If it's that questionable and it's 3-2, don't make the grant. Just make sure you make the right decisions on the right grants involving the right people. That's the commitment you need to make. And I think you'll handle that well. But as far as past commitments, they're made, gentlemen. The paperwork's in place. I think they've all worked well. It's just set your rules and operate by them and set them tonight and don't deviate and have the final approval. I think that's fine. You're spending $10 million of the city's money. You should have final approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is there any other items that anybody want to discuss on 10 County Grant? I believe, from my memory, that's all we had. Is there anything else, any clauses, any questions, clarifications? So if we make these corrections and bring it to council Monday night,
Now, as far as the program guidelines, you are not voting to not ratify the guidelines. It's just any prior grants. Is that correct?
Say that again, Leslie.
Section 4 of the ordinance states all grants approved by the prior grant review committee with respect to the 10 County grant program are hereby ratified. That's what you want to strike, correct?
Strike that from January 1st, 2012 on.
And then as far as Section 2, the program guidelines, you are ratifying those, correct? You're okay to ratify the program guidelines and approve of them?
No, we're not going for the 2/3 vote.
And where are you referring to the 2/3 vote?
On that
On
first
the
page
review
of the
committee and
review,
approval process.
the last bullet point, Leslie. Is that where you are, Jane?
no. You got to,
No.
Leslie, you got to strike the 9 in the first item under
Oh,
10 County Grant from 9 members to 7.
it's 7, okay.
And then you got to, the mayor shall appoint And then you got to strike the two-thirds council. And you got to strike council shall appoint 2 residents of the
Got
community.
that. We got residents to homeowners. Correct.
We're not going to appoint. We're going to keep the 7.
The 2/3 vote stays in that part, because that's part of the committee, correct?
No, the 2/3 vote we rejected.
As far as the voting members of the committee,
Yeah.
that shall still constitute a quorum, correct?
Oh,
That's all it's for.
Okay.
Actually, you want to strike the common council shall appoint 2 residents of the community with selection shall be 2/3 majority of council. You want to strike that whole thing.
Right.
And these appointments may also be council persons. We'll strike that part.
Yeah.
And then, as far as the final approval process, the closing process, which would be, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through there.
Third page back, I think.
Yes.
At the
Closing
bottom.
process. City attorney or designee will prepare the interlocal agreement to the sponsoring government entity. Somewhere before that, we need to put that it needs to come.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
The issue of not ratifying previous.
Go back to speaker.
Please.
The issue of not ratifying previous agreements entered into by the city. Does anybody know the amount of money that's outstanding? It'd be a good idea to know, because you might be passing something that's got very little monetary value. And commitments are made. If you don't make the commitments, just like you all have attorneys, they have attorneys, it probably costs you more to ratify the issue than it would to compensate the people. I mean, I would look into that. I know in most of them that I dealt with, the money was expended pretty well. Madison just used the last of theirs.
There's a few that haven't been.
A few.
Ratification wording in there.
But I would look at that wording on previous. I think Jane, what she said from this point forward, I agree wholeheartedly with. But you're obligated to the ones in the past, and I would look at those dollars and cents before I would really say, no, we're not going to do that. And I would see who received the money and what stage they're at with their project.
Well, we can still, if there's an issue, they can come back and we can look at modifying.
We can do modification. What I understood in lieu of the ratification, you all are going to look at modifying to meet the situations and the demands that come from the old approvals. Is that what I understood?
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Well, then maybe we could put something to the effect that all grants approved by the prior grant review committee with respect to the Town County Grant Program are hereby reviewable, not ratified, reviewable and subject to modification by the new committee.
Does that work?
By council.
I think
By council or by the new committee?
There's no new committee.
But by council. Right, you're right.
I think before we go that, we need clear direction on
Wait a
that.
minute. Wait. On this, it would come before the committee
Right.
for the modification.
Oh.
And then after that, it would go to the council and the explanation as far as the modification. But the committee would be one they'd be talking to
Exactly.
for the modification.
Right. So just reviewable are hereby, I don't know. If you're not ratifying them, we could put some language in there to the fact that they're reviewable and subject to modification.
Yeah. But they'll manage them in the best interest of the city,
Before council for
of the program, I guess.
approval.
Then we're talking about prior ones. We're not talking, yeah.
Right.
Any prior ones could be reviewable
And then
by the committee and recommended upon by council.
The committee's still agreeing to manage those modifications.
Correct.
But seriously, I mean, Bill, as
I
far
don't think
as
we need
any
that
of
in
the-
there.
The grants and such, in the 8 years, you have, I mean, basically, you made the grants, and then they were done. You didn't hear any more about them.
They were presented to council, there were modifications they presented to council.
Well, that's what I mean.
Very few modifications.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
very few.
Okay.
I don't think we need that in there, Leslie. I just think we just need to ratify from January on and be done with it.
But we will have modifications that I'll be bringing back to you.
Well, we don't need it written in there. We'll take care of it when we do.
How do you take care of it if you don't have a clause that says that you'll take care of it?
No,
Help me understand this, Councilman Pope.
That's all it's going to amount to. I mean, you're not, the ratification part that I've got here, I mean, that would help me on what my as far as the ratification issue. I mean, it's going to be reviewed and then by the board itself with the possibility of the board.
Talking about the 10 county grant board.
Yes. With the possibility of a modification if it's if approved by the board on it. And then at that point there, and then it would be coming back to the council as far as their decision and such. I don't see why it would be a problem.
And there'd be no wording of it would be ratified.
No.
It's just for review, and then it would have to come back before council for approval if the committee made the recommendation
To modify it.
to modify it.
Anything we reviewed, there was never a change in the amount of money.
Right.
The money was never increased. It might have been the way they had to use it or whatever, but it was never, the money was never increased.
Well, some of it could have been that they had different things that they had assigned for usage, and then they had to change the usage and had to come back before the board for that. And I mean, that was a simple modification.
Or there was an agency,
Well, probably all of them.
right.
Okay.
There was a local agency change that we do have one out that I know the state's trying to collect back on, but so we may have to do something with that down the road.
But Jane, I feel like that would take care of on the grant review and the modification as far as with the board.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I understand it now. However, I would, once that's written up, I would like to have that in my hands in plenty of time before the meeting to...
This is coming up Monday, right?
Come up Monday, so it'll be in the packet on Friday. If, Leslie, I don't want to talk for you, but would it be in the packet on Friday for the go to council for Monday night?
So they have the weekend and that to look at it.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's why I'm trying to
Yeah.
find out exactly what it is we're changing. So, I mean, it seems to me it's just the first two bullet points at this point. And then you need to add something at the final approval process that will go, it will go in front of, for final approval, front of council for final
Right.
approval, correct?
Right.
All right.
And then the review and modification that you suggested, how'd you word that?
All grants approved by the prior grant review committee with respect to the 10 county grant program are hereby reviewable by the committee reviewable by the committee,
Or modified,
reviewable,
whatever.
or yeah.
And or modified?
Subject to modification. I think you said.
Yeah, subject to modification. And then with further approval by the council, right?
Yeah.
Because you would want any modification to come in front of council as well, correct? Okay, I'll figure it out. That might not be the exact wording, but I'll get it.
Okay, any more on 10 county grant? Moving on to the loan.
All right, who needs a copy of the ordinance concerning the revolving loan fund?
I got one, but I don't know if it's the same one we're going to talk about.
I got one, but I don't know if it's the right one.
Is it the one dated October?
Yes.
Okay, then I got it. That's fine.
Where are you seeing the date at?
Oh, about 3 pages back.
Oh.
No, here, like second page.
I'm cold. Is anybody cold in here?
Says it's 72.
I get down
Actually, it
here.
says 74.
It doesn't work.
Well, it's lit up and it's digital. Okay. Okay. Where do we want to start with the revolving loan fund? We'll start with members first and work like we did through the last one, or?
Sure.
In this
I
one-
agree with Mayor Cunningham.
Excellent.
Well, you're still mayor. I'm once president, always president, once mayor, always mayor.
I'll bow down later.
Before we even get into any of this, I just want to make it clear that I don't think the city should be in the loan business. I think we should solely give it to the bank for them to oversee it 100% with some guidelines set up by us so that they can have some leadway and relax some of their policies so that some people that may not qualify for a loan can and will eventually qualify. I don't think any of us or any private board needs to be in anybody's private financial business. I wouldn't want anybody looking at my financial records, even though I got an excellent credit rating. But I just think it should just be handled by a competent bank with our money in the background to cover whatever loans the bank chooses to loan and to who they choose to loan to.
I would like to add something to that. I don't think the city is established or prepared to be in the banking business. I just don't think, that they have the people for that.
Well, I think at this point I need to explain the program that we're presenting, and then let's take
A
it.
wonderful program set up. I love your program.
Okay.
But I still think the bank should handle it.
This is my concern as well, and I'll echo as far as what Jane had said, though, Grant, is this, and you had Paul Seymour step up there as far as with the confidentiality issues and the issues as far as worrying about information, as far as personal information and what have you on the part there. And, I've talked to a couple of the guys as far as in the banks and such, and, the loan could be done in the part, and then I even, asked the thing, I think we had talked, and it said something about the bank loans would be kind of tight because of what they might be able to loan out on. But if there was something that we could do to buddy up with the bank, but the bank doing it, secure whatever loan it would be, and then the loan committee agree that, hey, yeah, we're willing to go and do this, then the way it was explained to me is that we would do that, but we here at the bank would be saying, yeah, we're going to do this. We're saying maybe not. It might work, might not work. But if it don't work, it's on the city. That's one, you're going to lose your money that's been deposited there on that part there. But I just think we're opening up a can of worms. And I have to agree with Bill Cunningham and what he said too. We're not in the loan business in this city. It's just been some loans that's been out, and we just don't need to be in it. I think we need to assist the city and help get some economic development going on in the park there. It's not that at all. But I just think that we're going to get into some problems with finances, with people's personal informations and what have you on the park there, and we just don't need to crawl into that. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. Let me talk, if I can, let me talk about the program and why what the pieces are, and why do we have those pieces in that, and what we found through the research. And when I refer to we, Pat and I put a lot of work into this. And first of all, we went to the banks and had discussion with a small bank, a local bank, and a very large bank to kind of get that cross-section. And one of the things that we learned is that in order to have those loans to where they can benefit somebody that's on, let's say, the border of an approval margin at a bank, those loans would have to be secured. Okay? So when you talk about sending money to a bank to make a loan, keep in mind that if you sent $3 million, you're only going to get $1.5 million of loans out there, because they'll want to secure them. And they have to secure them, otherwise the feds are involved in the banking and it comes into their calculation of unsecured loans or low collateralized loans or borrowers who are not quite qualified. The other issue that we heard from the banks is, can you do a clearinghouse for us or something? Can you do some type of review process so that we can deal with the people who really have the means to do it and have the experience to do it and they need the extra help? Can you sort out the dreamers from the people who can actually get it done? All right. The third area that we ended up was people would go around here and they're so excited and they'd get a grant and then they'd find out that they didn't go see Carl and they didn't have a permit and planning and zoning, they won't give them a signage, and we just ended up misconnecting. And part of this is with these people who want these loans, we need to educate them on what the cost is down here as far as, doing business, be it a business license or be it a permit. So if you look at the program, we tried to bring all of those aspects together. So let's just walk through what we would consider a path that an applicant would take. And the applicant would get an application either from myself or from Main Street, Pat. Once we get that, it goes in for department review by the city. We look at it and say, okay, is that a use? Is that going to change it? And we would raise a red flag saying, okay, look guys, that's a restaurant. That thing's not set up for a restaurant. You're going to have to, you're going to have to change some stuff around. That's what building would look at it, and building would strongly suggest if it was a major remodel, they need to get reviewed by the state in some way or another, get some type of conditional review from the state saying, yes, you can or can't do it. No sense spending all the time when it's a project that won't get approved down the road. On the planning and zoning side, it's not so much, but as you can tell with pop-up shops and stuff like that, we're into a different area, and it's something that you can't really define, so there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes with planning and zoning. But through that process, we find out, one, okay, does that use that they want to do in this town fit our town? So what's next? Well, the next thing is what I would, lack of any other term for it, what I call the weeding out. Are these people for real? Can they do what they say they can do? Then that's why we got Small Business Development Center involved. They're here. It's a program that reviews and helps people become small business owners, or help small business owners become better owners. Besides reviewing the financials, they can also, with a software system that they have, they can look at the current inventory of Lawrenceburg and tell us, or the committee, if it is a business that is under inventory or over inventoried in our area. That's a big help, because that's going to tell us the success potential of that business. If we already got too many of them, and I'm not picking on Leslie right now, but we don't need another law office down here, but, so that's an over-inventory. What do we need down here that is under inventory? All right? This is part of what the Small Business Development Center does, is they look at not just the applicant, but the environment that they're putting, that applicant wants to put a business in. And what we're trying to do is set these people up for success. The other thing is, yes, you do end up with a lot of dreamers, but you end up with dreamers who are really compassionate about it. And Small Business Development Center will sit there and work with those people, and they'll come back and say, okay, yeah, it'll work, but you need to go down to Ivy Tech and take some classes in accounting so that you know how to do your books, or you need to go down there and, take some education. Kind of, again, trying to help them for success. And part of what they do is when they approve somebody for a loan, what you'll see is commitments they need to make outside of that. As far as within the first year, you're going to get this class or that class, and second year, you're going to do this, so to help them grow. From that point, if they get a favorable review by the Small Business Development Center, now that review is a 2-page document, and it goes over certain areas of the financial. You don't necessarily see the financial at that point, okay? And it says, it'll probably give you a probability of success and stuff like that. It gives you some insight into it. Well, the next step would be going and putting that information out to a bank. Now, what have the banks said about Small Business Development Center? Well, the comments that we've heard is, wow, that's great. They can get all that information, because they're going to make our review a whole lot easier. And I mean, if you look in there at the documents that they require, they're going to know those people inside and out. All right? That information goes out to the banks. The banks decide, who's interested. Somebody steps up and says, yeah, we're real interested in that because of this and this and this. Or it's our turn to do one of these. At that point, the bank still has to do their check. Well, when they do their check, they're used to dealing in this margin, let's say, as far as you brought up, Councilman Pope, the credit scores. And maybe the information we gain from Small Business Development says they're in this range. So we got this gap we got to deal with down here. But we don't know that when it goes to that bank. We got to figure that out before it goes to that bank. Because when it comes to the loan committee's got to know how much outside typical banking business is this loan. Now, of course, I think everybody will agree that if this is where the bank's at, we definitely don't want to be down here, right? We want to be somewhere in here. And a great example of that is small business loans for mom and pop operations. And it's one of the most unfair things going on in this country. And I'll get off my platform in a minute. But when these banks are asking for 35 to 40% down on a conventional loan, that is absolutely killing our small business. It's unjust. And small business, mom and pops of this country did not put this country in the climate that we're in. It was the housing that started it all. Okay? I'll get off my platform.
You're on the right one, though.
All right. So some way or another, we have to educate ourselves as loan committee on where does this fall in. And at the same time, what it's going to tell us is how much we have to range down in here. Okay? Especially when when we get done, if a bank accepts it, and all this information comes to the board, and what I like about this program is, when this information comes to the loan committee, be it whoever it is, you are going to have the best information that can be pulled together. Because you've got a banker, real-world banker, you've got a small business development center who's trying to develop business, and you got either myself or Pat standing there saying it's good for the community. Now, that's how that comes together. And really, when it gets to that point, and I'm not taking away from the committee, but it's really a rubber stamp, because it's pretty well proved up because it went through that process. All right?
So why do we need the committee? Why not just use the process?
Because the committee is going to give us the local flavor and what they think on it. The taxpayer should have, there should be some check and balances with the community members coming in, the government entity. If it's a board, a loan committee board, or if it's council, you don't want to leave it to Pat, I, and that. We'll bring it to you, and you decide, because again, you're deciding where we're going to end up in this relationship, all right? And you're going to decide, one, is it good for the community? We can make recommendations, but as we learned earlier, there may be a grant that we don't approve correct. Well, there may be a loan that has problems, okay? So that's why you've got to have, I think you've got to have the committee that you come to. At the same time, too, that committee is probably going to turn to Small Business Development Center and say, hey, can you run within a 20-mile radius of this area? What are we lacking and what are we overstocked on? And that committee would have that information. And they would know as this stuff is coming in what fits and what doesn't fit with this community. Yes, when we go to put the loan in the bank's hands, we're going to have to, if it's out of whack with their procedures, then we're going to have to secure that. And that's why we're here. We're here for the securing of that difference, okay? Whatever that difference is. And to take somebody that has a dream that's determined as hell that wants to go out and get it done. And we've got great examples down here in Main Street right now of hardworking people. I've got a list of people. I've got a guy who buys a pallet of TVs returned from Walmart. Okay, they're returned to Walmart. Walmart cannot re-advertise it or put it back out for sale. He buys a pallet. They come in and he refurbishes them. He puts them back on eBay. He sells them at 70% of what a new TV sells for, comparable TV. He's doing a heck of a business. You know what his biggest problem is? He could do more of a business, but he can't handle the inventory purchase to keep those TVs coming in. He could get more of a discount if he could buy, instead of one pallet, 5 pallets. There's a guy that does I'm probably going to misstate the manufacturer, but he buys transmission for trucks, and he changes that 5th gear some way, and he puts them back out on eBay. And he's been in the office, and again, it's one where he can buy these transmissions. He's running around buying singles when he could buy multiples, and he could do that. Again, somebody like that is currently not here. They're in the area, but then when they come here and they get a loan, they are going to be in Lawrenceburg. That's one thing about this loan. It's in Lawrenceburg. That's got to be our proving ground before we move outside of the Lawrenceburg area. I rattled too long here, but bottom line, it's a profit center. It's a profit center that currently that money sits in the bank, and I'm probably going to misquote this, but Jackie, what do we make, 1.5% on a CD?
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky. And if you turn around and put that out at a 3.5 loan, and the bank's taking 1%, to me, this program would be a good fit for this city, and we need to try to use it. You all bring up valid points about leaving it with the banks. Understand this, the banks are going to have it, they're going to manage it, they're going to take care of it, it's their people doing it. The only thing they owe us is every quarter or every month, depending on what you all want, they're going to send us a report status. If that person's missed a payment, they're not going to ask us. It's going to go under their policy, and they're going to send out the notice letter. You missed a payment. Okay? So thank you for letting me explain the program. Pat, do you have anything to add?
I guess other than, I think it's an extremely important program.
Pat, would you go to the microphone so
I really think this is a critical program for this community. In my 2.5 years at Main Street, I've certainly seen a lot of people come in that don't know what they're doing. I saw people that got grants that were well-intentioned, but didn't really have the ability to do this. What I like about this program is that it offers people an opportunity, but it takes a lot of time isolating the appropriate people to give opportunity to. And I think that's something we've been lacking in the past. I have, a little quilt store that's downtown right now. They have some equipment they would like to buy. They are doing well. Those two people are hard-working gals. They're doing well. They'd like to buy some more equipment. This loan would make it possible for them. If they can buy more equipment, they're going to be more profitable, and they know that. And they've actually worked with SBDC already. They've got a business plan, and they're working according to that business plan. So there's some really great opportunities out there. I think this program is one that is patterned on ones in other counties in the state of Indiana. So you're not doing something here that other counties haven't done in a similar manner. I think it's well thought out. Grant's done a marvelous job with it. I think we have opportunities here. There are people knocking on our doors all the time. And you don't want to give it away free. This doesn't give it away free. This presents it as a loan instead of a grant. And I think it makes it a much more serious transaction. And I think it weighs on people more knowing. I know that in some of the provisions they are forgivable, others aren't. But I think it's a great program, and I know a lot of things are sitting on a back burner right now, hoping that you all will approve this.
Is this, the loans are from 5 to 500,000?
Okay. To the point, again, guys, I would say that we weren't in a vacuum in putting it together, but we wanted to put something together so that the loan committee, along with council, can massage it into the program they want. That table you're looking at, Councilman Taylor, is a outline of what it could turn into be. We can start little and we can go larger next year or whatever. So it was a suggestion. We're looking for input. It is stuff that we picked up in other programs.
Now, Grant, with this, would the bank be distributing the money?
The bank would be distributing the money.
Okay. Let me ask this. If it can't be put in the sole discretion of the bank, can there be something where it goes through your group, and then what you recommend, you give them the choice of the bank, I guess they can go to, they go to that bank, let their bank review it, and then they make a recommendation or denial to the council for final approval? Is that anything like that could be?
In that situation, Mike, are we going to secure that loan? If that loan is sitting down here and that bank's, but are you saying that we're going to try to force this into that bank, or are we going to secure that loan?
We're going to secure the loan.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of, you're using city money to front the loan, but they're going to take out the collateral, they're going to distribute the money, they're going to collect the money.
Yeah, they are, it is.
Because they're in that business, they have good intentions.
Right.
On that money will be collected back if they recommend it.
Right, and I think the,
And if they don't recommend it, there's a reason.
well, and the young lady sitting next to you there will tell you that clerk treasurers aren't bankers. And that's why this program is putting that responsibility
else.
and that into the bank's hands.
How much then, Jackie, as far as looking at that the city will be able to afford to put into this program as far as securing?
I don't have the faintest idea at this right tonight, no. We'll have to look
I
at,
don't know if you guys had talked about it.
no, we hadn't. Or I hadn't.
And explain the residential side too. There's another side for the residents.
Okay, well, we still do a continuation of the 7,500 and 7,500 that came to us from the past administration, which is a great program that ARA is administering. But that takes care of roofs, HVAC, electrical upgrades, more of the structural, the heartbeat of a house. The second one that we're suggesting there would be more of some type of loan that would concentrate on beautification, exterior type upgrades, or painting, something like that. Kind of not necessarily the awnings from Main Street, but kind of the appearance thing would be there. And again, when we get the loan committee / whoever it is, okay, they can help mold that in. The mayor's got some ideas on that, and they can help mold that into what it is. There's a great one where, how do we talk about loan incentives in there. We got incentives that says, okay, if you do this and this and this, we'll do this, okay? But that's got to be worked out with the committee or with whoever's selected to do this. And that's where it's at on residential. You'll notice in there, we made a suggestion on low residential loans and high residential loans. And
I
that
can't find it in the new one, anything about residential. In the new one.
Well, it's not in the ordinance, is in it, Exhibit A?
I am, I'm looking.
Okay.
You talking about in the guidelines, Grant? Residential.
Yeah, the residential. Okay, it's a table. I know it was in the packet before.
It was, and it was very good the way you had it set up, but I don't
Right.
see it in here.
Okay, I'll have to get that corrected. There was I think 50,000 for a small loan or 25,000 for a small residential loan. And let's say if somebody wants to put an addition on that, then there was a larger loan if maybe it's a older house that needs to be updated. Again, those items are still to be molded by the committee / whoever you all select. Any other questions?
I'd like to see that language put back in there about residential.
Well, we'll get that table back in there. Again, that is something that the members will mold into the program.
I definitely think if it's going to move forward, the bank needs to definitely be involved with making recommendations or denial.
Right.
I think should start it out at a smaller scale than this 500,000 for a year and see how it goes. So don't get into a bad situation. No worse than it has to be.
And to that point, when SBD puts it together and a bank's interested, then that's where it's out of SBDC's hands and it's in the bank's hands. So that division is very clear. At that point, the only thing is that in the audience, at that time when that's brought up to the committee that's reviewing it, as I said earlier, it's Pat, I, Kelly Will from SBDC, and then the bank representative sitting there, okay? And then potentially there may be another bank representative there of something else I'm looking at. I mean, this is a new program. We need to work on the old program because I got a lot of work to get those loans caught up there.
How many bank representatives was there going to be?
There'll be one bank that's accepting it. We'll put it out to all the banks, but the bank who accepts it will be in here to talk about it, okay?
During the process.
During the process. Oh, yeah, they'll be in front of you. Because I want...
Just like what goes on with 10 County.
Yeah.
The ones that's involved in that.
But before it would come to the board, the bank board will review it and make a recommendation or denial, correct?
Right.
So all the legwork will be done before it even comes to committee.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing that you need to prepare yourself on this, it's a 10-week process, at best. But the thing about it is we're trying to set the people up for success, and we're trying to make sure that we're making a knowledgeable investment in those people. And really, you know what the goal is 2 years from now? That we've helped create a banking relationship with somebody that couldn't get a banking relationship, and we created it with a bank, and we're out of it. And they're still down there running business, and the bank is working with them direct, and we're out of it.
It would be low interest, lower interest from a traditional, and then I assume the bank's going to get...
Depending on how much the bank ends up with is how that percentage fluctuates. I've heard it anywhere, large loans, it might be 1. Depends on how many of these loans they get. And I think what we could do there, Councilman Lawrence, we could structure that such that as the amount of loans go up, the fee starts coming down that they're charging. But they could be as high as 2 points. And that may bite into our 1.5 on our CD if it's a 3% loan.
Just no official, but how many do you think right now that you would have applicants interested in this program?
I probably got 12.
I've probably got at least 5 or 6.
So like around 20 people right now that would be interested in.
Yeah, but as soon as word gets out, you know what'll happen.
I do think, though, that, once the fact that this is such, I'm just going to stay here because that's easy.
I think the fact that this is such an all-inclusive, comprehensive process, there are going to be some people who are going to back away from it, and they're probably the people that shouldn't be in it, because they're going to find out that this is not easy money. You really got to have a business plan. You really have to have your act together to get this money. And so I think the really serious ones will come to the surface. And that's one of the benefits of this plan, I think.
Back to the bank on the can you negotiate with them a set percentage of it that they would get to make sure don't get into the dip and below the CD, what you're saying? And I think commercial is probably around 5% now, I think.
Yeah.
So even if it goes up to 3.5%, 3.75% loan, it's more relaxed because it's extremely hard to borrow money. You better be good. And so just off the bat, I'm sure there's plenty of people that pay just as much interest because they can get a loan.
Right. Right. I think we'll definitely see that.
Small business that is struggling.
I think we'll see that, and the thing is that if Bank XYZ only ends up with a $20,000 and another bank agrees, and I think part of the process that we need to get with these banks is when they say yes, we'll accept it, they're going to say yes, we'll accept it at we want 1.5 points, okay? And then maybe another bank says yes, we'll accept it, and we're at 2 points. Well, okay, we know which way we're headed, type of thing. Again, that's part of this thing that's got to evolve.
And has anybody thought about the homeowner or the residential being a less interest rate than the commercial?
Again, whoever that committee is and how that's formed, all I'm doing is I'm giving you the dough, you all mold it into what you want. And that, of course, that's going to be some bank reps sitting in here talking about some of the battles, what they've got, people that they've had, you know, some of the war stories and where they think that, you know, one of these things is going to be an exchange of information from the bankers around town talking about the issues here back to the committee and educate the committee. And then, so that this stuff starts coming, it's got to be molded. It's got to be molded from the outside and the inside.
You know, I think one reason that some of the banks might be willing to be pretty favorable with us, there's two reasons. One is that if these people go there for this loan, that's a loan actually from the city, administered by the bank, if they do well with it, then they become a good potential customer for that bank. And they really like that. They like the fact that we could be building up good business customers with this program. The other reason is because banks there is like a community reinvestment sort of thing that banks get, whether or not you're aware of this, banks get graded on this, how much they do to help the community. And when the bank examiners come in, they check that out too. So this is actually something that they're doing to help their community. So it looks good on their record, you know. So it's an advantage for them to do this.
And will it be, you know, if this goes forward, will it be in the contracts and made sure everybody realizes that once that loan is made, the bank is in control of it, the bank is collecting it. If they don't make their payments, they have to deal with the bank, not the city of Lawrenceburg.
Right. And the only thing I think we have to do, Mike, and of course that's going to be this session with the bankers talking to them, is when they write that monthly report and they say, we're going to start foreclosure proceedings on this, we just need to be aware of what those situations are, because the board members, if they're quizzed, needs to understand what that situation is. Again, you got to be careful with that information because it's protected. But you need to know, because that educates you on why that loan failed and what the problem was.
But they're going to make the decision, hey, this is the time to
Right.
send them a letter. This
Right.
is the time.
Right. And then the next decision is, yeah, the next decision comes back to you is you're going to get a notice that your secured portion on that loan, they're getting ready to take it because they couldn't collect on a certain percentage. So it'll have the communication, but again, guys, it's still a living, breathing document, and it's got to be pulled together and put, and everybody's got to have inputs on it.
And one other thing I have, now, up to what percentage are you going, I mean, with the collateral? Are you looking at wanting to go?
That is up to the loan board and the banks to sit down and work out. I am not educated on the local climate well enough to sit here and say that. That's what we've got to talk to our partners, the banks, and find out. Unless you can answer it.
So this is still a working document. I mean, there's not anything there's some other things that still need to be tweaked on it before.
Yeah, it's just a guideline, what it is.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to have a work session to possibly have a representative from each one of the banks that's willing to participate, being at? So if there's questions from anybody?
Well, I think in order to get that done, we need to make sure that that meeting happens in a format that we can get a free exchange of information. So I don't know if that's an executive session or not, and I don't know if it qualifies, but...
Or can it be like 2 council people at a time, and you and them, you know, so that anybody's got questions, they can ask their questions?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, because one of the things is that, you know, it's not all going to be good news. And there's going to be issues, and, you know, these, we don't want to scar a bank's image because they made a strong comment regarding certain type loans. Okay, I can tell you right now, none of them will touch a restaurant. All right, so who'd I piss off?
Leslie, could we work that into an executive session?
Nobody tonight.
I was believing it wasn't allowed in executive session. So, you know what I mean?
Not even if we're discussing business with them? They're,
And that one was, well, I don't know if we can, yeah, that one I'd have to research, Jane, what type of meeting that would take. Because that's kind of fact-finding and trying to structure a program, so we'd have to work on that. But understand, we're done with it, we're presenting it to you. If it's something you're interested in and you think it'd be good for the city, it still needs to be molded, critiqued. We need people, and besides bankers, we need people from the community to give us some input too. It wouldn't hurt to, I mean, Bill's got some great ideas on some of these loans. I mean, part of this too, understand, is we've got to restructure the loans that we have out there. We've got balloons that have expired, you know, and this is something that would fall under this. And that alone is $18 million.
You could definitely have a work session with something like that, with a forum.
Right.
With
Right.
the community involved.
Right.
But the bankers could also be there if the community had any questions about specific things.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, on your own loans, since you brought that up, that's the only other reason I was here.
Thought it was to see
You got
me.
a couple of different kinds. You got municipal loans that are a set rate, but they're for like a 20-year period. I mean, there's no problem with those loans. You got them with the Aurora, Morrisville, Greendale, and other municipalities, but they're you know, they're pretty well in line with what you want. The interest rate's set, and it's a limited amount of time. But most of the other loans are, like Grant said, requires a balloon payment. These people are not going to be able to get the money. We discussed this before I left office, and I think somebody has to look at that under this program, a bank, no doubt, at a reasonable rate. Some of these people have 1% interest too, and like Mr. Lawrence said, 4 is the going rate. I mean, if we could get 4, I don't think there would be an argument, and that's more than we're getting on the money now. And if you start talking that kind of return on $15, $18 million, but we need somebody to monitor the payments and take care of that. As I said, we're not bankers. At least I realized the group I was with wasn't bankers. And my beloved city manager at the time, I don't think he created 2 loans that were the same. And it created a lot of problems. We reviewed them over and over again. But I think as you look at this program, you want to look at that large amount of money we have out there and get it turned over to the same group. The loan committee could oversee it, but you need a banker. When you start talking $15, $18 million, you need a bank looking at this money. Give them a decent rate, more than you're getting currently. But I don't think in this climate, in this economy, any of those people will be able to get a loan to make that balloon payment. What do you think, Grant?
No, they're not. And part of it is that we've got to do a lot of restructuring in that, and just to get the banks interested, we've got to get that, you know, polish it and get it shined up a little bit.
But what you have to remember, they're not loaning the money.
Right.
The money's out there.
Yeah.
They're going to charge you a fee to collect it.
Yep.
But we'd be much better off doing that, having it monitored, taken care of. It isn't like it's coming out of your coffers. It's already out there. The money has been spent.
Right.
And most of the payments have been made, I think, very good. But the whole thing is restructuring the interest rate now, because it was given to them with little or nothing, and they can't get another one. I don't say gouge them, but you're going to have to get enough increase to let the banks handle your money, so. And since I was part of that program, that's the only reason I'm here. I want to make sure we get our money back, and I know you all want to make sure we get it back too, so.
Bill, can I ask you a question on the municipal loans? Or does all them have the same interest rate, all the municipal loans? Or?
You know, you'd have to look that up, Mike.
I don't know if you-
They were under what they could get
They
from the
were-
bond bank.
Weren't they 2.5 under prime?
Yeah,
And at one point, it changed each year, but now prime has kind of been set, so it's the same thing for the last, say, 2 years.
Okay, I was just curious.
actually, it was a way to take care of communities without a grant to get our money back, is what it amounted to.
Right.
And they were used for city buildings, firehouses, police stations, sewer treatment plants. I mean, it's all locked in money. I don't think we have to worry about that. It's the other loans that we need to address.
Right. And to that point, and something that came into my office about 3 weeks ago, is there's a local banker that's getting ready to retire. He's kind of watched from afar with interest in this, and he's interested in coming and helping the city on a consultant basis. And I think it's something we need to look at, because that's the type of guy that can help us clean it up so it's marketable to the other banks. And we can work, and of course, with him being a local banker, it's given us the local trending and what's going on in that. I've shared with Mike, but it's Lou Ballhammer. He retires in February.
What bank?
Friendship.
Friendship.
He's out.
American State.
He's been with
US
most
Bank.
of them, hasn't he,
Yeah.
Bill? Been with most of the banks?
He was a bank inspector to begin with.
Yeah, but he's been with,
He was across the street.
and he was with UCB, and now he's with
Yeah.
Friendship.
Only works a couple days a week.
Very knowledgeable.
And I think it's something that I need to have further discussion with him. And as I was working on some loan today, I do need some help and insight, because that would help. Somebody that knows how to access the information that's out there, so that we can figure up stuff and get it done.
Have a better working relationship with the banks now. If he's worked for all of them, we should have a better relationship with the banks as well.
Right. If we, and to Bill's point, I think it's, we know they're a captured audience, but we still got some people we got to sit down and have a real serious talk to.
Come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah, okay. Or come to Lou meeting,
Whatever.
whatever.
I think there's still a lot out there that needs to be answered. There's a lot to be discussed. Jackie's got to find out how much money is available to set aside for the loans.
I don't think there was any money set aside, because this program's just come up this year, Jane.
That's what I'm saying. You
Okay.
need to find out how much
Okay,
would be
yeah.
available.
But to that point, Councilman Pope, we need a committee to work.
Councilwoman.
Councilwoman.
Called me man twice tonight.
Sorry. We need a committee to start working with. We're at that stage. Not that Pat and I work in a vacuum, but it needs Lawrenceburg elected officials, committee members' flavor in this thing to help put it together. So we really need to figure out who that is.
Any more? Board have anything for Grant?
Well, as far as on his question, I mean, you've got this here in the Exhibit A. Is that what it's going to be then, as far as the committee itself?
I don't like this Exhibit A. I like the very first original one better, much better than this one. And even my second one I got in my book doesn't have the residential information in. So I'm not prepared to vote on this document.
changes to the document, bring it back.
Well, but the document's going to keep changing. I mean, we need to decide who wants to be involved with this and help move it forward. And let's take the ordinance part of this, throw it out, but let's try to get a committee to help it.
They can vote for a committee tonight. They can vote for a committee tonight to work on
Right.
it.
Let's put a committee together to help finish this and mold it into what you all want.
Just a committee to just put it together, and then they're going to do.
Then we'll come back and after they get done with it, we'll put an ordinance on it and then bring it. And I apologize if it appears that I'm pushing, but we're at that point.
Well, I'm just wanting to, my question came from, as far as when the Exhibit A is the review committee and approval process, and it's down as far as the 5 members, on how, if that was what it was going to be, or if it's going to be a committee, how he was going to proceed with it, Mayor, is what I was asking.
Well, it's going to have the 5-member board, but it's got to come back to council.
Well, I'm just asking is how, if you want, your board...
5-member board just works with the bank and gets everything done, but the bank's going to do all the work.
But that was my question, if that's what it was going to be, if you've got these people in place, or you've got them thought of. I mean, council has got, I guess, 2 appointments by this, or one could be a councilman and one be a property owner, correct? Is that what?
I don't know, the board's set.
That's what we talked about.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. That's why I'm
Can't
asking
have
the
a
question
board
about.
that's set when we haven't even voted to have a committee.
That's what we talked about the last few meetings was.
But that's what's in front of
Committee can be,
I can set a committee.
he sets a committee, but just like the grant committee, I'm going to make a motion that it would have to come back before council for final approval.
And well,
And
We
I
have
mean,
to in order to enter.
I'm fine with the committee.
Right.
Enter into the interlocal
right.
in order
You
to
gotta
do that.
everything off.
Maybe it's as easy as, do I work with the existing committee?
I'm not fine with the existing committee
Okay.
at all.
Well, that's committee set, so
This paperwork
I'd
here,
rather set a committee.
this paperwork's different, though. This one says 5 members appointed by the mayor and 2 members appointed by council, so that would make it 7 members.
I did offer that to you last time. That's what you wanted.
That's what we changed, and that's
That's what
what,
we had talked about.
and that's
That's
what we
what,
changed.
that's what I've been asking, though, guys. I mean,
Okay.
That was.
And that's what
So
we
it makes it
changed in order
7?
for this meeting tonight, because it was originally 5, but we added the 2 more.
so council's going to have to come to an agreement on 2 people on this board.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying we can,
My question's been answered, okay.
That's what we
what I
can
was
do
trying to get to.
if
As long as
you,
we're taxpayers.
I'm sorry, I'm slow, but, hey, I just had to get it around another way, I guess.
That's the same way as 10 county, as long as the taxpayers on it.
Well, that's already taken, that's going to go with the original 7. You're not going to 9, correct?
We're staying with
No.
7.
Staying the way it is,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
so on this one, we added that each of the 2 members shall be selected by a 2/3 majority vote of common council, may also be a council person.
Is there a council member on the committee now?
I am.
Bill,
Bill, is Bill?
Well,
Yeah, and Aaron
There's
both.
trouble.
No, that's,
There we go.
I call for a 10-minute recess.
they don't like us 2 council people.
I'll make a motion. Can I make a motion?
I make a motion to call for a 10-minute recess.
Second.
A second?
I need to use the bathroom.
I got
10-minute recess. Be back at 8 o'clock.
heck, it's only been almost 2.5 hours, you guys, come on.
I didn't have 2.5 hours meeting, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question. I don't know if you talked to the unions at all, but you remember when they came in a long time ago? Well, I don't even know.
You talk about the banking business, it was 10 days to sell it.
Well, when they came in,
Before I got the check.
You can come,
Gonna make a phone call.
I'll come with you.
not pay the perk. They were actually working in the city, but they didn't pay the perk. I guess they had the same thing with the issue with the union, but they caught it. Well, and there's 8 of them. Dale, and then number 5. So basically, in the ballpark, I think they said it's like 2,400 a person. It's about, well, say about 20 grand. But that would, what it does is, it actually brings them guys up to university, which is obviously very important to them.
Oh, I know.
But they need to
Yeah, they need to roll it into
But
this.
they're,
Yeah.
the city never did pay the portion of PERF. They did the union, but, I've talked to Bobby, talked to George, a couple others, and they said at first they tried paying it themselves, but the state won't allow an individual, it has to be the entity. So, and basically, I was talking to the mayor and asking him if he knew anything about it. But, we'll have to approve it, appropriate it, but I want to see if you guys would, what we could do is have him come and present.
No, he had basketball practice, and then he had to get dropped off here.
You know, but just radius, 10 years back.
I talk too much?
Well, that's the thing, it's, the city owes it, but at the same time, for them, it's going to bring them to be invested, which is huge for them, because some of them, like Bobby and George and most of them, well, initially, and this is, I was told that they tried to do it a couple times, but never had any success getting it done. So I don't have to go through the mayor or what, but I mean, I could have them come and present, tell them, I just tell Bobby, hey, somebody, but just tell him, hey, if you want to, or someone, but I think if it's, if it's owed to them, the big thing is if we bring them up to, be invested. A few of them over there, it's older, so if they do decide to buy or whatever, there's no issues there. You run it by I'm gonna run it by Jane, and then if, before we leave, you say yes or no, then tell them to get on the agenda.
Thanks, sir.
Today's the 14th, it's Thursday, right? 14th? Wednesday, well, shoot. I'm just trying to get you Friday, Doug. You're right, it's Wednesday. But it's the 14th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't.
Okay.
I pay my utilities.
Okay. I paid mine yesterday,
Once you're in it.
so I'd be ahead of the 15th. Yes, you do.
I gotta take baby steps.
Hey, it was good intentions.
Pretty proud of the program, but
I think it's a good program. Yeah, everybody needs some touching up to it.
that's why I'm trying to
Helps out.
Talking about this?
Yeah, I need help finishing it.
It's good basis.
And the parameters need to be different. Yeah.
Smoke break.
Yep. It's good for me.
Leslie, 8 feet from the door.
Uh-huh.
Were you 8 feet?
I was 8 feet from the door.
Okay, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't care.
Oh. Do you see the little spot they have in front of the courthouse now? It's like right in front of the courthouse.
Well,
Like Smuckers.
I have to,
right here.
I mean, you know where, store and tavern is in Yorkville? Between the tavern and the store, they've got a bench, and it says, "For smokers, brought to you courtesy of Governor Mitch Daniels."
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Bitch, don't carry going out.
I know, but I thought it was funny.
That's all we need tonight. That's all it's going to get done tonight. They're going to do their 2 more people, correct? There are 2 more people. But again, then you're going to have problems with 4 people being, council being headed. You have to do that, right?
No, you can't. Oh, no, you can't really have 3.
I was gonna say that.
There's already 2 on there.
You just said review for
That's what I was
modification.
gonna do right before the end.
And that's why I asked, is the seat, is the bank?
You can have
Two.
two,
Yeah.
so they can elect some people.
I'm kidding. I was kidding.
Hear me, Mayor?
We can
Thanks for the
switch.
break, I need that.
Yeah, so I was sitting here thinking, okay, how much if I take the break, it's like,
Instead of us two.
how much am I gonna miss in minutes of my writing if I run out real quick and run back?
Well, I got 4 kids, so I got to go to the bathroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the more you have.
Yeah.
it's just-
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that happened. I didn't know.
So far I have. Now my sister, she's only got half of the kids left.
My thoughts.
Well, I bet.
I was gonna ask
I
you.
would, I mean.
I've never.
a spare.
It says the members of the community or something.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of
They
people.
have some name for them.
I've heard of people only having one, or some, somebody had to have them. I had a girl that worked.
Yeah, it may
for one
also be a
had to have both
councilperson
of
if-
hers taken out because she had a disease.
They can't.
Yeah, no,
And
more.
her son gave her
If the
one, so
mayor
she
Yeah.
really did wind up with
Yeah, that
one.
wasn't brought up till
And
tonight.
it's
I'm
like,
glad
okay,
he
I've heard of
did.
all that, but I never heard the other way.
Yeah, my daughter has a one down there, and it does that. She says, oh, come get it close to something.
Oh.
That's what she wanted. You know why she wanted that?
Can I bring up the?
Everybody ready to go?
Okay.
Call back to session.
Okay.
Can I make a motion
Go ahead.
pertaining to the loan committee?
Go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Pope and Councilman Taylor to be on the loan committee.
Is it going to be 2?
That's what it is, isn't it?
There can't be more.
Well,
There,
Can't be more.
There
And-
can't be, because you two's already.
we'll give up our spots, we said, so you two.
Now, the other way they could go was keep the 2 on there, and then the council would put 2 more people, and they could be community members on there. But they
I don't have
cannot
a
be
problem with
council.
the committee. All I want is
No,
it to
I
come
ain't-
back before council for final approval. I don't have a problem about council.
Doug, I'm more
About the
happy to go
committee.
on. You want to go on?
It don't matter to me, but I mean, Aaron, have you
Motion.
got?
I don't-
I'm on to 10 county.
There's a motion on the floor.
What about me and Mike? Mike, you want to go on?
I don't,
First of all, I appoint the committee.
Wow.
Well, we still have to elect the council.
Huh?
The council has to elect 2 members, unless you guys
Just
want,
on the board?
No,
unless you
they
guys
can't.
want it to be
So I appoint 2 more people.
residents.
I mean, with the committee, I'm fine with you guys being on there. Only thing I ask is that it comes back for final approval before the council, and I don't care about the committee. It's,
Yeah, well,
yeah, I have no problem with the committee.
I don't see any problem with it. I think they're good people on the committee.
I'm fine with the committee.
And then we get to appoint 2 more?
No.
No.
What we're doing
Well, you
now.
What are you doing now?
I'm fine with those two
They
being
go
on
to 2
there,
residents, right?
Jane and Doug, you would be the 2.
No?
unless for some reason they don't want to be on there. That's up to them.
I'm completely lost. Who does the committee consist of now?
Me?
Aaron,
Bill,
Bill.
Aaron,
Bill.
Bill Cunningham,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Rogers, and Tony Abbott.
How's Tom's health?
Good. I talked to him
Is he
today.
out?
He's doing better.
Is he out of the hospital?
Yes,
Good.
he's home. He's not, I rephrase that, he's not home. He's in Aurora,
Well,
being, taken care
taken
of.
care of.
But
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
not in a.
No, he's not in the
Yeah,
facility.
we're
No. They wouldn't have him. What are you laughing about back there? You know that's true.
I don't think Doug wants. Doug, do you want to be on it?
It don't matter to me. I mean, I enjoy the 10 county grant as far as that goes, but yeah, I mean,
You guys are willing to do that?
I'm totally willing. I mean, that make you guys more comfortable to keep this thing moving forward. I mean, I'm fine with it.
Don't take him to a 7-man board.
no.
No, we just keep the
No,
5 member.
Bill, and Aaron want to drop off if Jane and Doug will take their spots, right? Bill?
Program, I mean, obviously, it needs to get rolling. I mean, I think it needs to get rolling. And to me, I'm good with that.
I mean, I just want everybody to know, I'm fine with the committee. My only thing, I just want it to come back before council for final approval. I have no, the mayor, I'm fine with the committee. I don't care about the committee.
You sure, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm fine, and then make you feel better, and I'm fine, I'm totally fine with it. I mean, as long as there's 2 council people on there, I'm fine.
Bill?
Bill's got a motion on the floor, here's a second.
Second.
Aaron seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Finally vote on something altogether.
Okay,
Thank
so
you, guys.
there will be 5 members and 2 members that are on common council, and that is Doug and Jane.
Yes. Right?
And then there will not be any further 2 members.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Is everybody satisfied with that?
So we've got a committee established.
But the
and
wording will be in there that it comes back before council.
We ain't,
for final
he's
approval.
just said we're getting the ordinance now, right?
You can put in the guidelines.
Yeah, we gotta take, you just appointed a committee tonight, so that committee's
So you'll be coming
gotta,
back for the ordinance.
committee's gotta work on the ordinance.
That was
Okay.
very noble.
Get it going.
I hope he's ready for a lot of work.
Go ahead.
You're there.
Wait a minute,
You don't know, but you're there.
So now, that's just a
Let me
committee
help
to
you with
review
that.
Exhibit A, go over Exhibit A, make sure everything in there is what you all want, they'll bring it back to you all, and we can pass the ordinance at that point.
Well, that's the thing, is there's still a lot of, like he said, there's
Right.
still a lot of
A lot of
input.
stuff
and-
could be done, yeah.
And then the only thing was about in the ordinance, if, do I need to make it a motion that it'll be, come back before council for final approval, or?
Just put in
doesn't need to be?
I think.
We're gonna do that in our
Put it in
exhibit.
guidelines, Mike.
Can we,
Yeah.
can we like, I mean, try to put some kind of a timeline to
Get it
to
done.
work towards getting it up and going?
With the holidays coming, it's gonna be hard to work in meetings. I'd say,
Month?
That'd be up to
Month?
board members.
At least before
Or the
the beginning of the year?
I'm looking at my help back there, the guy and the cat back there too. I would say we could probably be back here in 4 to 6 weeks.
that's a good brain.
And there's
January 1.
there's some, yeah, and really, this is a 2013 program.
And that's with final approval?
Yes.
The ordinance, ready. We can do that, I can. Okay.
Any
Ma-
more?
Mayor, well, go ahead, Mike, you got something?
I was gonna say, I wanna talk about something else if that's done.
Yeah, I've got an announcement.
Okay.
Lawrence, if I could.
Go ahead.
That's what I was gonna tell him.
While the council and the utility board is assembled, Friday, I'm going to have a meeting with one of our customers that's causing an issue with their neighbor's sewers. It's a commercial customer. I'd rather not bring the name up right now. But what they're doing is causing latex flows in the sanitary sewer and other items, and they're causing backups with their neighbors. So in our ordinance, the utility director has the right to meet with these people, present them with a written complaint. And if they violate that again, each violation is $2,500. Don't want to ask me individually who this is, I'll tell you. But that's my announcement. Besides that, I'm not.
Is that the norm? That's what,
Pardon me?
that's the norm?
It's in the ordinance book, yeah.
And it's been multiple incidences too.
Those can create a problem.
Would they qualify for a loan to get their sewage fixed? So that's,
No.
Okay, Mike, you get
All right, yeah. I know some people might want to shoot me for bringing this up, but my phone's been ringing off, and my heart is breaking over this trailer court. I'm asking this council to consider helping the people that live there with relocation, to help them with deposit and moving something, because you know those people over there, that's all they can afford. You know, they can't afford anything else, or they'd be somewhere else, and you know, and they're just having a tough time, and I would just like for this board to consider helping these people, which I think they said there's 21 people.
There's 21 people. 21 people, 9 of them are in arrears. 2 of the 21 own their trailers and have to relocate.
I got a question.
There's a lady called me today, for instance, got 4 kids. If she is behind, I don't know, she might be, but there's 4 little kids that they, you know.
The city doesn't own that property yet, do they?
No.
My question is,
For closing.
and I don't know, maybe Bill might be able to help answer this, if he was on the city council at that time. We purchased George Street Trailer Park. What kind of incentive, or what did we do for those people? I know they gave money, but I was going to go to your office this morning, Jackie, and request information on that. What actually did we do for those people?
Bill, you speak for that, that's probably your administration.
What compensation was given to those people, I don't know. Those people own their own trailers. They were bought from the people.
The city purchased the trailers?
And with the ballards and the sale of the property, it was their responsibility to relocate and remove trailers and compensate the residents.
I heard compensation wasn't written up in the agreement.
Well, I'm just saying what I heard. I don't know. What happened over there, they purchased the trailers from those people. Those people owned the trailers. Everybody owned them. And I think the only compensation given was they bought the trailers. They gave them a fair market price for the trailers. Where over here, they don't own them. 2 people own them. The ones up like behind where JR lives, I think a couple of them there are owned by the people.
Jackie, can you check into that and find out, please?
Yeah, I think
over there, Jane, what they did, they bought the trailers.
And then they purchased the property?
That was part of the property purchase, and then they paid the people for their trailers because they own them. But here they don't own them.
Because
Is that right, Bill? You might know a little bit more now, but I think that's what happened. We purchased all the trailers.
Because with talking with Grant, I think there was discussion originally about them paying them compensation and helping them relocate, but then basically it didn't get put in the agreement.
Well, in the agreement, it says that they will relocate the tenants, okay? It says, I don't know the exact verbiage of it. We're dealing with Rod, and he's got to be tighter than bark on a tree. He said in that meeting and said that, he would give $1,500 or $1,000 and all that. But understand, he was asking $950. We settled at $890. I leveraged the deal in that he wanted to close by the 31st. So we're putting the money in escrow. Whenever he gets the site clear is when we'll close that escrow account, and he'll get his money. My opinion is the redevelopment commission has the money to do the right thing. Is he going to do the right thing? It doesn't appear that he is. Okay? And
That is not part of the agreement. I mean, as far as compensation.
Right.
Compensation is not.
Compensation is not part of the agreement. The only thing that I would ask council to consider through all of this, and whatever decision you come up with, is don't pay those people directly. And we have to find a way to pay them through the ballards, okay? And the reason for that is if we get involved in relocation, then state and federal requirements come into play. Okay?
Can I ask this? Is there a way, can there be a addendum or something done with the deal that, I guess if this board would approve them to get X amount of dollars more to distribute to help those people relocate? And what I had in mind, and I mean, it's like if you can help them with $1,000 or something to help them relocate, pay their deposit, and get their utilities turned on and
As long-
Have locations?
I mean, but they could do it as a voucher type program, you know what I mean, where they would have to prove, it wouldn't be just giving them $1,000,
right.
but making
For a
sure that
landlord.
they,
But like
whatever they do, put it towards.
But they can't, the city has to stay arm's length away from it.
That's what I'm thinking also.
Doesn't
And-
the closing is supposed to happen prior to January 1, right?
Well, the money will be in escrow December 31st.
But that's when it's supposed to close, right?
It will close when the site is cleared. The reason it's going into escrow on the 31st is because of the tax concern,
Capital gains.
So
capital
then,
gains.
So then we have some, I mean,
We have a club, okay? I think with there's 21, so we're looking at 21,000. The only thing is, to Councilman Lawrence's point, you got two of them, it takes $1,500. I talked to one of the guys that owns the trailer, and it said $1,500 to relocate it, which I've been told that's a heck of a price to relocate a trailer. Well, this trailer's his, and supposedly it'll move. I guess
even if it's if they're trailer owners, they get more to pay for moving their trailer. If they're just renters to help,
right?
Because I mean,
You say only two of them own their trailers?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what Bill said.
And I do agree with Leslie on the voucher.
But that's.
I think he's saying it's got to be distributed through.
Well, through the Ballards, but Ballards could use vouchers just as well as a municipality could.
but I think
Right.
the Ballards need to step up to the plate.
Exactly.
Maybe we should give them some time to see if they will do the right thing.
We have,
There's a closing, you know, what I mean, it's already been signed,
have closings been late before?
yeah.
Delayed?
They can be, I mean, obviously, the closing will be set at our discretion, but
Because the property has to be vacated first, like Grant said, right?
Is it?
But they want to, as far as the transfer of the funds has to happen through a escrow agent before December 31st, or they pay capital gains on all of them. So,
Well,
That is
that's
the
our
deal.
club.
There's the incentive.
That's a club. And through the negotiations, what went on, and Mike heard this, witnessed this on Monday morning along with the mayor, when Rod sat there and poor-mouthed us about it, I said, wait up, Rod. Number one, it was $890,000 and you agreed to it. I accepted the responsibility to tear down those two houses. There's two houses involved with the trailer, adjacent to the trailer park that they own. I took on that responsibility, and that's about $8,000 a house. So there's $16,000. And as Mike will tell you, I sat there and said, there's your incentive money to get those people to move.
Well, and also, I told them, said, look, you might have given them a 30-day eviction notice. They don't have to be out.
That's
you
what
can
I-
have to.
Well,
they can be stubborn. You have to take them to court. You're going to pay an attorney. You're going to have, the easiest way is to help the people. And the lady called me today. She can't get heat or anything turned on. She's got a place, but with 4 little kids, it's just. I just think it's a bad thing. I think something should have been in the agreement.
And I think to share with you, Councilwoman Pope.
Thank you.
Glad you got that correct.
I am. I apologize.
I was just teasing.
The reason we have to stay arm's length away from it, we are going to take that property and do senior housing. And when we go for a tax credit, we'll get dinged on our score if we relocated people. So
What about all the other rental property you bought and tore down?
But that doesn't come into,
Other people in this town?
yeah, well, that's one of the things.
But here's what it boils down to. The government is supposed to look out for people. And I heard it here when we was talking about tax refund. The renters aren't getting it, this and that. Come on now. I mean, we got to choose what side of the fence we want to get on. and these people are hurting, it's
Right.
all they can afford or they wouldn't be there.
Right.
And these little kids, regardless about the adults, these little kids don't deserve this.
I was just sharing with Councilwoman Pope the fact why we're saying it has to be an arm's length transaction, and we have to work back through the ballards. Of course, we can threaten them, or tell them we're not going to close because of this. You need to get this straightened out. If it comes down to negotiation, how much are you all willing to negotiate? And then, Leslie, how do I put that money into it?
If you guys discussed it, and it can be done, I have no problem with going back to them and say, look, if you want to sell it, you want to close on it, you're going to pay people that owns their trailers this much, and you're going to give your renters this much, and it doesn't matter if they're current or not. I can't help it. Now, when I say that, it's one thing if somebody's 6 or 8 months, but I mean, if somebody's a month behind, to me, it's
Really, that's Valor's problem to get.
Right. Well, and then again, when the guy called me that owns the trailer, he said, I'm not going to lie to you. I knew it was going to happen, just didn't know when it was going to happen. I'm just kind of surprised that it did finally happen after 7 years. And I go, okay. And he says, he says, it's going to run me $1,500 to move the trailer. So I called Jeff Stratman up, and I can talk to him, and he can talk to the Ballards about it. And that's where I would start tomorrow morning, is call Jeff, say, Jeff, this is becoming an issue
It's making all of city council look bad.
Right. Becoming an issue to where the Ballards need to step up and take some responsibility here and get this settled. Otherwise, redevelopment's ready to call a meeting and revoke the offer. Or revoke
I don't know
the
if
deal.
I would go that far. I think the club of the capital gains tax that they're going to have to pay should incent them to do what they need to do.
Right.
I mean,
well, I think everybody agrees that it was a project that we're all interested in. It just happens to be, we hit a bump in the road, and Ballard's not...
It was hard for me, and I told you, to get these phone calls, I had no idea about it, and I'm supposed to be the chairman.
Leslie, say that so grand.
And then these people think I'm lying to them because I don't know what's going on. And I mean, I'm telling the truth. I didn't know. All I knew was approved to move forward with the $890,000 offer. I didn't know it was a done deal. Didn't know the agreement, wasn't involved in it. Because if I would have been, I would have fought to got those people something.
Well, and the way it reads is that they're responsible for those tenants.
Relocate.
Yeah.
So that you need to put the law down to them.
In that part, that would be a breach of their contract if they didn't relocate those people like they're saying and do what they need to be doing.
I don't know whether it says tenants. I don't have it right.
We'll have to look at it and see.
Is it whether it says relocate?
I mean, if they breach that part of what they agreed to do, then that's a breach of their contract that they.
It is, but it's also a breach at this point for us to not do what we're doing because it's a signed contract. See what I'm saying?
But we're not doing anything.
No, we would. Well, I guess
just trying to get him to enforce.
If it came back to it and we're going back and reneging, that extreme what you just talked about, then
I got forces that want to have the redevelopment convene and.
Well, let me ask you this: how much capital gains tax?
Leslie's saying that's wrong, Grant.
8%, I think.
Leslie's saying that's wrong.
Well,
explain, Leslie.
Okay, if I want to get somebody's attention, I'm not going to tap them. I'm going to knock them between the eyes, and that would knock them between the eyes to get the discussion started.
As far as delaying it and.
I can say there's a movement afoot that, and discussion that.
Movement afoot.
Good words.
But I mean, I would not go so far as to say that we're gonna
back out of the deal.
Back out of the agreement. I mean, I would just let them know.
I can find a way to word it.
I'm sure you can.
Because some of the residents are going to wish to have eviction notices by the sheriff, and that's going to be a 2-month process, and that's going to be beyond the...
Rod, I'm trying to keep you from getting shot.
it's been all over Channel 9 News and Facebook and everything. It's really, and they're blaming it on city.
It's not the city.
I know it.
Well, I think yeah, we got an issue where everything was done right, but we've got a humanity issue that we've got to find a way to help.
Let's get them on the telephone tomorrow and see what we can do with it.
Okay.
We need to step up to the plate.
Do we have you hitting with the ball bat?
Just let me know when you do.
I don't disagree with Mike and his kids out.
I'll make sure I'm out in the office.
I'll be honest, if I had money, I'd go do it give it myself. But
I don't disagree. I don't
I could go
disagree.
buy them some Christmas presents, that's about as far as I could get. Oh, that's all I had, sir.
We have leverage.
Okay.
I got one more announcement. Tigers lost the regional, but they played a great game, and they showed great sportsmanship. And the faculty and administrators from LHS thanked the mayor. To me today personally, I was at the high school on some business. They thanked the mayor for his proclamation. Yes. Yes. And also the mayor and city council for the funds that we provided for their hospitality room. And it was their first sectional victory since 2005, so all in all, we had a great season.
One other quick thing to go with the sports. I got a long message sent to me about, the soccer team won this and done this, and there was a week made to the football team. So I said, well, maybe we can have a week dedicated to the whole sports program.
I don't do those.
Get it out. Do it once a year to get it out of the way.
Dina, you're secretary.
I'll get one made up tomorrow to all sports programs.
The boys soccer one sectional and the girls soccer one sectional.
We should have brought it up. So I think it just makes a lot of sense.
I don't have any kids at school. You're going to have to tell me about some of this stuff.
I can't keep up with all of it. I got so many kids around the other stuff.
Yeah.
All right, what?
Are you about ready to quit?
If they don't have any more, anybody else anything else?
I got one item.
You talk too much.
Well, okay, but thank you all for giving me the time tonight to walk through these programs and the executive session earlier. And we made a lot of headway tonight. Feel good about it.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
No more from this board?
I make a motion
To adjourn, Jay?
my mind went blank. To adjourn.
Okay.
What do I make a motion to?
Don't you hate that when you have those moments?
Hopefully, I think we'll accomplish a lot.
See ya.
You have a good one too, Mike.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. If I do anything stupid.
Oh, you too? Okay, I saw you come in with papers. I didn't know if it was, she had one that she was going to talk to you about. I didn't know she was going to talk about all of them. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Good night, Grant. See ya.
Hey, next time can we make it shorter?
It'll be shorter next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
If I didn't want so late, we go celebrate.
Well, I didn't know. You said earlier you didn't know like you
For 22 years, I'm gonna, I told them that I'm gonna have, just go ahead and come have to present.
I wonder why we can't have her. That would help me a lot.
I don't know.
But I guess it's just not part of it.
But, I got 22 years. But I'm gonna have them come and present one of them, I don't know who. Monday's the meeting, and we can talk about it, approve, or whatever.
I'm okay. If they didn't pay it that first year and a half, and I'll put them right at the 10-year mark.
Right, that'll get them vested. and that's their main concern. So,
I don't know if I want to sit on that one committee or not, Bill. What'd you do to me?
well, it'll be a learning experience if anything. Seriously, it'll be a learning experience, and I mean, I just want to get it going because I know that the residential part I think is going to be a hit.
Wasn't in either one of them, the last two I had.
Right.
I can dig through my other papers at home.
But then again, what I was trying
We're
to do.
gonna work on it anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna work on it. And we're gonna develop it, because you all got, I just sat there and said, okay, if you had a loan program, what could you do with it, type of thing. And,
I still hate getting in people's business. I really do. Do we really need to see the financials?
But the financials be with Small Business Administration, they deal with them on a daily basis. They write a report, and let the bank see the financials, and they make a recommendation. The only thing that somebody has to do, which it'll be the bank, they need to hold the financials to make sure that somebody didn't cook the books.
That's government required.
Right, and the same thing that, I deal with the grant.
But when it first comes in, you're going to see right off the bat, you got 5 attorneys wanting to come in, where you have, some clothing or who knows, you're going to know, hey, this is something we definitely want to look at, or it's definitely something we don't.
Right.
Right off the bat, so.
I tried to get back to you that day you called me and left a message, and when I was able to get back to you, you didn't answer, but it was in an appropriate time anyway. It was after work hours, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Ballard, step up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Hear me screaming? Make them step up. They're supposed to.
Yeah. All
I don't think, I mean.
Oh, you mean the Ballards?
Yeah, make them step up. Make them step up.
let me talk to Jeff and see what I can get done.
Grant can do it.
Just make it happen. Make it happen.
Hey, thanks. I know I talk too much, but I was fighting for it.
No, that's the thing, I was to the point where this thing's gotta be going, It's gotta be going. That's the bottom line.